welcome to another installation of DI Dashboard webinar. My name is Shawnee Avery Scott, and I am the training evangelist for Dealer Inspire. My job is to bring to you all the great information and technology that we're doing here at Dealer Inspire, show you how to use it, and also help you how to use it to the best of your ability and to make everything you do awesome. So this webinar, just so you know, will be posted within our website within 24 hours. That's at dealerinspire.com/DI How Do I. And there's also other great stuff in there. We have an FAQ page. You can see past webinars and videos and blogs that we've done for Dealer Inspire. Lots of great information there. Also, there's going to be a little Q&A session at the end. Feel free to send in any questions you have via the chat board, or you can, just kind of hold off until the end and type them in there, and then we'll get to those. We usually do it that way because everybody's got their life to live and want to keep everything kind of quiet in the background. So send this to the chat board. So without much further ado, oh, well, there's me. Hi, there I am. You can reach me at DI How Do I at dealerinspire.com if you have any questions regarding training and all that great stuff. So with us today, we have Jennifer Strilko. She is our analytics guru, and she knows most of the stuff that probably other than Joe or maybe a few other handful of people, nobody else really knows. She's great. So she's going to talk to us about W.E.S. W.E.S is your web efficiency score, and it's something that you really need to know, and it's something that's going to be, we like to be very proactive and ahead of trends. So this is something that you're going to be hearing about soon. So it's important that you know. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you, Shawnee.
All right. So tell us a little more about, let us know what this W.E.S is and why it's important that we have it.
Absolutely. All right. So as we look at web traffic and performance, sorry, just getting our screen ready here.
Get your content. Yep. All right. Well, while we get the what do you call the content deck up, she goes, there it is. There we go. So, all right. So yes, what is web efficiency? I know it's very important, and it's probably something on the top of everyone's list. But tell us a little bit what it is.
Yep, absolutely. So as we look at our clients' traffic and performance on the websites, and by that I mean Dealer Inspire sites as well as clients on other platforms, we started to think about how to better evaluate the efficiency of a website. So let's start with a definition of what we consider to be web efficiency. When we talk about this, we're looking at how competent a website is in performing or accomplishing its goals with minimal waste of time and effort on the user's part. So we want it to be easy for them to get to what they need to get to. So how do we do this? There are some key metrics that we all look at. You guys are looking at these things as well. We look at traffic to the site, conversions, users, bounce rate, time on site. These are things that we're all looking at on a daily basis. So while these things are useful in telling a story, they shouldn't necessarily be taken at face value. Some of these need to be understood in context. So for example, if we look at a couple sites, let's say these are two auto dealers, and we look at their pages per session average. Site A, dealer A, may have a 3.23 pages per session average, while site B may have a 4.75 pages per session average. So what does this tell us? Is session B a more successful site? You might think so. But what if site B has a higher pages per session average because it takes the users more clicks to get to the content they're looking for? I'd say site B in this case is actually a less successful site because users are exerting more effort to find the content that they need. So going hand in hand with pages per session is time on site or session duration. Are you happy with your time on site? If your time on site is high, you might think, hey, that's great. People are staying on the site for a longer time. They're clicking around. But what if they're actually staying on your site for a longer time because it takes them longer to find the content they're looking for? So like I said, we just need to kind of take these things in context and really dig in. So given that, I'd like to ask our users today, our viewers here with us, to take a few buttons or pieces of content on your site that you want to lead your users to. go through this site on both mobile and desktop, because these are two completely different experiences, and count the number of clicks it takes to get to that information. Are you satisfied with the number of clicks it takes? Can you reduce that number? Think of it in terms of what your user is going through. So let's look at a website on mobile, just to dig in a little bit more on these actions. We recently were fortunate enough to co-host a Google Rethink conference, and looking at who we have signed up here today, I think some of you guys were actually there with us at Google a few months ago. Google rated one of our Dealer Inspire sites on mobile, and this is the exact feedback we got. These are the comments that they gave us. And as you can see, clickable actions that are easy to spot and use are a key feature. So take a look at your website and count those clicks. See how long it takes to call your dealership, get directions to your store. You can look at these actions on your home page, and then also go further down. Count the clicks it takes your users to get to a VDP or to the credit app. Put yourself in your user's shoes and see exactly how many clicks it would take to get to that valuable content. Okay, so the point is, yes, you should definitely be looking at these metrics month to month, year over year. Take a look at the trends and see what's happening with your traffic. But what else should we be looking at? Before we get specifically into W.E.S, though, I do want to back up and give you some ideas of other basic site health that you should be looking at and different tools you can use as well. So, Shawnee, last month, Google came out and said that more Google searches take place on mobile devices than on computers in 10 countries, including right here in the U.S. and some other major countries such as Japan. So as our consumers and our users are relying more on mobile devices to research and make purchases, it's more important than ever today to really have an effective mobile presence. So now we need to kind of step back and say, what makes a good mobile site? To answer this question, Google is helping us out. They came up with these 25 principles of mobile site design, and this will help clients and users build a good user experience and drive conversions. These 25 principles are something that we look at. Our design team is, right in tune with these and takes all these into consideration for every Dealer Inspire site that we build. So as you can see, they're broken down into categories. We're not going to dive into all of these today. We are going to provide the link in a little bit, so our listeners today can go ahead and really dive in and compare their site to these principles.
Now, are these 25 principles also part of, I know that Google came out recently, I think it was in April, with, they were going to start slapping the wrist of companies who didn't have very good mobile sites.
Absolutely, the mobile algorithm. Yeah. If you follow these designs, you will not have a problem with that.
Okay.
You will not be penalized.
All right. I know from personal experience, there's been plenty of sites that I've gone to that have really bad mobile experiences, and I just left because, it's difficult to get anything done. So this is great, and it's great that we're jumping on this and making sure that all our sites are compliant.
Absolutely, and Google tells us, right, when you do a search on mobile, it indicates right then and there whether or not a search is mobile friendly, just so you kind of have a heads up on if you will have a good experience or if you should move on and go to the next search results.
Right.
All right, so how to go mobile. This is another good source if you're considering a new website or you want to evaluate your current website. Here's an interesting fact. 90% of all media interactions today are screen-based. So what does this mean? This means that we need to provide a multi-screen device effective use for all of our users. We need to consider this. So this site is a great starting point when you want to think about how your business will work on different devices. It walks you through step-by-step on choosing a technology to measuring your success, and of course, the big one that we're all concerned with, providing a great user experience. The last resource I just want to point out real quick is Google's Page Speed Insights tool. This is a super easy tool. It's really fast and easy. You just enter your site's URL, and in a few seconds you get a score based on 100 points. Actually, you get 2 scores. You get one for mobile and one for desktop. So it gives you your each separate score and a list of actionable items that you need to fix or improve upon to improve that page speed.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, we were going to provide the tools that I just talked about. Here is the list and the links, and this will be in the recording that will be available on our site within 24 hours, as you've already mentioned. All right, so we've discussed metrics you're probably already using today. We've talked about other things to consider for your site, such as page speed and accessibility across devices. I'm sure none of this is new to our listeners today. If anything, hopefully I've just given you some new tools and ways to look at these concepts that you're already thinking about on a day-to-day basis. So let's switch gears now and talk about a brand new way of thinking and evaluating your site. We will now introduce you to WES, your Web Efficiency Score. So for WES, we want you to think about the actions that people are taking on your site. So sticking with our car dealer example, if you're a car dealer, you think about the actions people take in your store every day, right? Do people just walk around the lot and avoid contact with sales? Do they come into the showroom? Do they make it back to finance? So taking this offline experience, now think about the actions users take on your website. Do they make it to a VDP? Do they submit a price form? Do they click to call on mobile? Now, once you think about these actions, think about how easy and efficient it is for users to take these actions. As we dive into WES now, we're going to cover several things. We'll talk about why WES is important, how to identify what you should be tracking with WES, how to calculate the score, how to then use the scores, and finally, what you need to do to implement the scores. All right, so first we'll talk about why WES is important. You're probably already paying very close attention to your form submissions and your conversion rates. This is definitely a great KPI for your site, but we also know that users don't always want to submit forms. And with everything being equal, many businesses and clients today are telling us that they're seeing form submissions drop as mobile use goes up, which makes sense. It's not always easy to submit a form online, or you don't want to take the time, you just want an immediate response, you want to connect with somebody right away. So yes, we definitely want you to continue watching your conversion rates on forms and definitely optimize your forms for multi-device use. This isn't going to go away, but it is also important to think about monitoring the actions people take on your site and give them each a WES score. So given a WES score will give you a number to track over time and help you understand if your site is providing the best user experience. If you start to provide a less than optimal user experience because the actions on your site aren't intuitive, or perhaps they don't find the answer the user was looking for, this WES score is going to help you take those actions, evaluate them over time, and make improvements based on them. So what do we need to do first? First, we need to decide what actions are important to you. Here are some examples that we came up with and that we're currently tracking on client sites after we consult with them and come up with their goals. These are kind of a pool of actions that we're presenting here today that our listeners and others might want to start with tracking. You may want to click submits on lead forms. You might want to track clicks on a VDP. You may separate your VRPs. We want to know how many clicks you get on new versus used. Different search functions that you have on your site, whether it be on your home page or within internal pages on the VRPs. And then, of course, the big ones on mobile right now, the click to call or click directions. So obviously, people can add to this once they evaluate the goals of their specific sites. Okay, so how do we calculate WES? We want you to think of WES as a conversion rate for actions instead of forms. Your form or lead conversion rate is, as you already know and are probably already tracking and keeping tabs on, your leads or forms conversion rate is your total number of forms divided by site visits. If we then translate this to WES, your WES score is going to be your total number of events divided by your total visits. If you are in analytics, you know that visits are now called sessions. So that's that number you'll use for the bottom line as your visits or your sessions. So let's look at a few examples. Let's say, again, we have an auto dealer that wants to calculate their WES scores for 3 actions. Click on call to mobile, click on a VDP, and search on homepage. So we need to list our actions. We want to use analytics to look at their monthly traffic. We know that this particular dealer gets 8,300 monthly mobile visits and 17,000 total traffic. So for the mobile score, we're going to pay attention to that mobile traffic number. And then for the other actions, we're going to look at that total traffic number. So using these numbers, now we have our actions, our clicks or events, and our traffic numbers. We're going to see that click to call on mobile WES has a score of 0.05. Click on a VDP 1.91 and search on homepage 0.64. So you may be asking, Jay, if you're not familiar with event tracking already, where to get that middle number on the chart here. Everybody probably knows where to see the traffic. Total traffic is just in the dashboard overview and analytics. The event number actually comes under behavior, and as long as you have it set up, it will be under behavior, events, and then overview. So this example that we're looking at here happens to be the event tracking for click to call on mobile. You can see this particular site in the 30-day period that we're using had 212 clicks on click to call mobile. So if you did not have event tracking set up yet, you won't have any data here. But once it is up and running, this is where you'll find that data to use for your formula. So we have the data now. What do you do with it? These numbers need some context and relevance. They are not relative to each other. So for example, 0.64 W.E.S for search on homepage may be good for your sites, while a 1.91 W.E.S for click on a VDP may be lower than you'd like for this action. 0.641 may be great, a higher score may be bad. It's all within context of that action itself. The thing you'll need to do is track these individual W.E.S scores over time and monitor the trends. So if we do that for specifically the click to call on mobile W.E.S, we can see what that might look like. Here we have several months of data for this particular click to call on mobile score. You can see we have the 5 months. We have scores that vary from 0.05 a couple months, it went up to a 0.07, dropped a little bit in April to 0.06, and then went back up in May. So what is this telling us? You'll hope that your marketing efforts month to month drive these scores up. You may occasionally see a dip or drop, and if that happens, talk to your marketing team, dig in and see why. Maybe it was a short month, maybe the weather wasn't so great and that affected things for you. Or maybe you made a change in your marketing mix that didn't quite work out or affected one thing in one way and another action in another way. The important thing is to start looking at these scores as a metric on your site, track it over time, and see what story it's telling you. All right, last we get to the question on how to actually implement this event tracking that you need for W.E.S. That's obviously a key component. It's the top number in your equation. This you'll probably need to talk to your website provider to help you with the technical piece of tracking your actions. I can tell you how we do it at Dealer Inspire. We use event tracking through Google Tag Manager. Once that tracking is set up in Tag Manager, the events are passed through to Google Analytics, which I showed you in the previous slide of where to find that data. So that's where we get the number of events or clicks that we use in calculating W.E.S. So right now, we work with our clients to track actions that we sit down and identify together based on their goals and what they think is important for their site and their users. But we are actually in the process of automatically tracking a core set of actions on every site we launch. So regardless, as soon as we launch a site, we'll have that core set identified and up and running, and then we'll still work with our clients to identify additional events that they deem are important and would like to track as well. So most of our listeners today probably already use analytics, Google Analytics. Besides using Google Tag Manager to do event tracking, there are other tools available that work with Google Analytics and will feed that same event data through to you. SkyGlue is one of them that we work with as well. SkyGlue is nice because it actually automatically identifies on its own all the events on every page and just starts tracking them right away. You just add a script to your site and you're good to go, good to start going. You can take their automatic tracking on every event, or you can customize it with what might be a little more useful to you. So these are just two things that we use to implement event tracking. But yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell, Shawnee.
All right. Wow. So it seems like a lot of information, but actually it's quite clear. So one of the things I do want to ask, because I'm sure some of our listeners are probably wondering, I know that some of our clients get a monthly report, a Raven report. Will any of these metrics be included on that, or will they have to go and set that up themselves, like in the previous slide that you showed?
Sure. So they will need to set it up through analytics, but we are building it in as part of a custom report, so that will be available with their monthly reporting.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a perfect segue. Let's open it up to any other questions that anyone might have. I know that I understand that especially with metrics, it's all about trends, right? It's all about not just taking a metric and then taking it for granted. You have to find the story. You have to see what's going on and look at it into other see what's going on with other aspects of your site, your business, what have you. However, would you say that a West score, are we looking for a higher or lower West score in general, taking into all the other things in account?
Sure. Well, so there's no one score fits all.
Okay.
Definitely, we need to look at each individual site on an individual basis. And like I said earlier, it's all relative. So what you may think is a high score for one action may actually be a low score for another action. Your high
Hmm.
score may be lower than someone else's high score. So the important thing to remember is that we want to look for that trend. We want to always see that continuous improvement. If we don't see that continuous improvement, we need to ask ourselves why. Do we need to provide a better user experience? Can the actions be moved around? Can they be defined differently? Do they need to be more upfront and center? Our user is just not finding them, or what happened that caused the event clicks to drop. So yes, you want a high score and how you define high for yourself, for what works for you and your goals, and looking over time at the trend. We always want to see that continuous improvement.
Okay, great. Thank you. Looks like we have a question here. Okay, so can any action or button that a user might click on be tracked as an event, even if it's a third party button?
That is a great example. The ones that we looked at today weren't third party examples. They were actions all built in within a DI site, for example. Third party buttons need to be evaluated individually. Sometimes we are able to click that going out to a third party site. Usually we can track that. Some scripts, however, on party sites may have it's a technical, a return false. It depends on the coding of that script. Sometimes we unfortunately aren't able to track it. I'd say for the most part we are, though, able to track third-party scripts, and we would just need to evaluate them on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. All right. I think that is it. Any other questions out there? Well, if you do happen to have any other questions, then feel free to contact Jennifer here. You can shoot an email at jstrilko@launchdigitalmarketing.com. You can also send any queries to me, the training evangelist, at dihowdoi at dealerinspire.com. And we'll be happy to get any of those questions answered for you. As always, if you need anything, just give us a shout and let us know, and we'll make sure we get the answers for you. So in the meantime, we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Next week, we're going to be doing consistency is key. It's your DI's web platform. It's the perfect core for your message. So whatever your marketing message is, you want to make sure it's the same on your traditional marketing, on any other digital marketing, on your social media marketing. You don't want to confuse the customers and the visitors. You want to make sure that they know who you are. It's all part of, it's a part of your brand, but also the message within that brand. So Aaron Cash is going to be talking to us about that, and that is definitely one you don't want to miss. Again, feel free to check out our website at dealerinspire.com/DI. How do I? Great information, a lot of FAQs and videos and blogs and vlogs and all the other tech words that are going to be coming out here probably. So definitely check that out. Um, You've probably already received your survey in your email, so make sure you fill that out. Let us know what you'd like to see or hear and what we can do for you. So with that, thank you so much, Jennifer, for imparting your knowledge.
Thank you, Shawnee. My pleasure.
And with that, I'm going to say thank you all for visiting us, for tuning in this week. I am Shawnee, the trainer of technologies for innovative dealers such as yourself, and we'll see you all next week.